And I actually found my glasses. I'm quite impressed with that. So this is kind of an off-schedule live stream. Just kind of, I was actually going to do a video in the yard kind of showing how I function check certain non-defensive gear, like not firearms, but you know, other stuff. And one, I had dogs all over me because I was in my yard early, and then it's like 98 degrees out, and I'm in the open sun, and it was just blazing hot. Hey, Wisconsin, and I was like, yeah, this sucks a whole bunch, so I'm not interested in that. And then the flies came and got me, so I was not impressed with that. Hey, KP. Unlike living in the coast, Louisiana, you know, Houston, Corpus Christi, where you have mosquitoes, out here we have mosquitoes, but we get these damn horse flies, and they bite where it hurts. It feels like a wasp sting. And man, I hate those things with a passion. My dogs eat them if they can catch them. Hey, Kane. Hey, TD. It's kind of like the sky raisins, you know, they're flying by, and I watch one of the corgis just go chomp, and no more fly, but they can only catch so many. So in any case, folks, normally I'll do a pre-recorded video on a Thursday. I kind of got cut loose a little early from my other stuff, and I figured, oh hell, I'll just come and come say hi and chat with everyone. Hey, Kane. Hey, Scott. Hey, Wolf. So today I saw an article that said they have two posters out. Let me see if I can find the posters, because I thought they were pretty cool. But it was for recruiting for the for ICE. And so they are offering upwards of, oh, here they are. Let me see if I can expand this. Damn it, let's make it bigger here. Okay, you suck. It doesn't want to be bigger. That's kind of what it looks like. Defend the homeland, right? And it has Kristi Noem on one side and the president on the other. It's a cool it's a cool poster, right? It's meant to recruit some talent. They're offering up to anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000 sign-on bonuses, student loan forgiveness. Like it kind of, they're structuring the benefits almost like the military to recruit folks. And I think that's not a bad way to do it. However, being that I hang out with the Livingston Man and the Four Horsemen, we like to kind of look at the other side. So if you think about it, they want to add 10,000 ICE agents, right? Which we probably need at the border at this point, because it's been neglected for so long that now it's kind of catch-up game. But you're also expanding a federal agency with more federal agents. It's a double-edged sword, because if they don't have something to do on the border, they're going to find something for these guys to do domestically. So is it a good thing? I think it's a necessary evil. I'm not super excited about having, or Brazen Bull. Hey, Rip Curl. I'm not super excited to be swelling the ranks of federal law enforcement. At least not that much. But at the same time, you think about it. Look what's come through the border. And it's not just like terrorists and the cartel guys and whatnot. Typically, if you're sneaking over the border, there's a reason. You know, because anyone who legitimately needs asylum can kind of go to the border and request it. But and we have a bunch of trafficking going on. I mean, there are little kids disappearing. Texas just found a house here. You guys heard about the house in Atlanta that had, what was it? A bunch of little kids in the basement in Alabama or somewhere in Mississippi. I don't remember where. And these kids have been molested and abused and all sorts of terrible shit. We're finding houses full of teenage girls out here. Like, it's just insane. And it's not just imported girls. They're grabbing kids off the damn street. They're grabbing them in the malls. They're getting them in, hey, Gerald, hey, they're getting them whenever the parents aren't looking, you know, so it's important to keep your kids aware. So clearly, managing these kids coming over, these kids who are being sold into physical slave labor, like basically as housekeepers, whatever, they're not being paid properly. They're being kept under threat of being kicked out or abused in some way. Hey, JRC. and you have all these little children we're finding who are being trafficked in various ways. You have the bad guys, right? The terrorists, the Al-Qaedas, the cartels. But then we're bringing these criminals in, we're having problems, right? The civilians are being victims as well. So do I think we need to? Yes. I do think, I wish I dug a little deeper, I could figure out how to dig deeper as to what specifically the role is. If they're gonna be legit ICE agents, they're gonna go around the country, go around the border, and make safe the streets of our country for all of the people here who are here legitimately and or trying to, you know, get their green card and trying to do the right thing. I'm all about it. But I'm always a little bit hesitant when we swell up the ranks of any federal agency, which it looks like we're doing right now. And the reason is because, you know, the president won't be there forever. Like, you know, as we know, we went from Trump to Biden, back to Trump, and you know, you change philosophies, you change parties, you change the way of governance every time a party changes. So it's a little bit scary because, you know, you have all these new agents, and that's all fine and dandy, but will a future president use those, say, hey Neil, use those same agents in a way that's against us? We don't know, right? That's kind of, and that's the title of this commentary, right? Trojan horse. Do I think the intent is evil today? Absolutely not. I think they're legitimately trying to get rid of a lot of bad people and then manage who can stay in a coherent way. They're a bit behind the 8 ball, so they're trying to catch up. But at the same time, can these kind of things be misused later? Yeah, absolutely. Same with the Patriot Act, right? In 2001, right, 9/11, we had this terrible attack. Now, whether we think the government turned a blind eye or an agency helped or a foreign country helped, whatever, it happened, right? They passed the Patriot Act and everyone's like, yes, this is a good thing. They have to renew it every 3 years. But the Patriot Act has been abused every now and then. And we don't find out about it until years later. And then somebody will take it to court and do a FISA or a FOIA, and they'll kind of break it open and get people talking about it. And once it comes to light, you know, all the senators come in and they rescind shit and they change things. But it could be used in a way that would, why don't they put the ATF agents down there too? I mean, instead of bugging guys like me. I mean, 9/11, the Carlisle group. So I always thought it was the, not Blackwater, the investment group. I just blanked out. It's not Blackwater. Blackwater is a special ops guy. Telling jokes. There you go. Hey, Neil. Yeah, I just had this in my head, Neil. It was like, on the one hand, I like the idea, but on the other hand, it's kind of scary. So, Stormy is absolutely passed out at my feet right now. What you doing? In case you all were wondering what the puppy looks like right now, come here. Let's see. Oh my God. Girl, you got heavy. Come here. Up. So this is the youngest one. She was the one that when I first brought her home, she was like my hand, plus maybe she was from the tip of my finger to here. And as you can see, holy cow, you got heavy too. All right, go fight over there. No, I'm not picking everyone up. Now everyone's here. They're like, wait, do you have chips? What's going on? No. Watching weed grow. That's funny. But yeah, but folks, one thing I would recommend, regardless of how you feel about it, is now's a great time, because other than expanding, hey, girlfriend, go over there now. I woke her up. Now she's like, hello. What? I'm not picking you up again. No, because I know there's chips up here. You want that? Licking me is not going to help. Go on. She's looking. She knows there's something up here. Oh, there's peanut butter over there. Oh, yeah, that's where she's after. Because the minute she walked away, I saw that nose go up, and she's trying to sniff the counter. Yeah, I don't know where that'll go. Hopefully, they can get a handle on the situation, get some of these criminals out, maybe help some of the legitimate people who want to stay here. You know, I'd like to see that happen the right way. You know, being from a family that immigrated here, you know, generations ago, you know, if they're good people, keep them here. We need people who are working because half the Americans are stupid too. Yeah, we don't need cartel guys and Al-Qaedas and whatnot. So anyway, so keep an eye on that. I'm just curious as to where that particular these increases in law enforcement, if it's going to backfire on a lot of us or not. Hopefully not. I mean, ICE agents have a very specific role, so I don't expect an ICE agent to like kick in people. Oh, Neil, that's a whole nother question. That was the other subject today. Is there was a city council woman. So there was the beating of a white couple, I guess. I don't know how you want to call it, by a large group of black kids. Now, there's rumors that words were said, somebody else threw the first punch, so I don't know the whole story. But, you know, they beat this one guy up, and it was like 8 against 1, right? They just beat this guy up. And then a woman who was not the wife, like a friend, just trying to stop everyone. She's putting her hands out, like, and somebody just sucker punched her, put her in the hospital. She hit her head in the concrete, like, it was almost to the point I would have said it was attempted murder for hitting her and then her hitting the concrete the way she did. And, you know, everyone immediately was like, this is just ugly. We can't do that. I don't care what color you are. You don't go. Yeah, a man hit her. That's my point. Yeah, a grown, full-size man, a big guy hit her. And she wasn't hitting anyone. She had her hands out. She's like, stop fighting, you know, stop. And somebody just clocked her. And a city councilwoman in that town said, that's what they get, or she deserved it or something. And no context. She didn't start the fight. Now, the guy they were beating up said words to somebody. So again, I don't know what provoked the fight. All I know, it wound up going from 1 against 1 to about 9 against 1. And then this woman was trying to like stop the violence, and they just clocked her for no reason. She wasn't putting hands on anyone. Probably Neil, or what do they call it in the movie show Yellowstone? The train station, train tracks, something like that. But you know, we have that. We have the guy in New York who shot up the building. He actually was looking for the NFL building or the NFL floor, and he hit the wrong button, went to the wrong place, shot up the wrong office. After he killed the cop and someone else in the first floor, the guy walked down the street from wherever his car was or the train station. He opened his bag, took a rifle, a full-length rifle out, and walked across the street. Nobody said anything. Nobody called 911. Yeah, and so, and then of course, then there's this argument that it was a Nazi who did it, and then it turned out it was not a Nazi. It was a guy from a different ethnic group, and it's just, what worries me is we're normalizing being freaking violent to strangers in the street. And it's happening more and more frequently. I don't know, put a 1 in the chat if you're noticing this in your state. That it's not like, oh, well, those two guys had a fight, but like he owed him money or they had a drug deal, you know, there was like a motive there. This is just people attacking other folks. And that's concerning for us, right? Because we try to be prepared, but, you know, getting a skull fracture in a parking lot because some rando decided, some NPC came over and whacked you in the back of the head for no reason. No, WolfGang, it was not a, well, it was a one-sided brawl, which basically was a beatdown. It started as 2 guys, and I don't know what set it off, you know. I mean, to be fair, the one who was getting his ass kicked, he may have started it, we don't know, but 9 against 1 is a bit much. And then they hit a random woman, and that's just messed up because she wasn't doing anything. I mean, it's clear in the video she's trying to de-escalate, and a grown man just cracks her in the head, and then they're laughing. The girl who got attacked, now I do want to say it's not all bad news, because did you guys see the subway incident? Hey, Rachel. The subway, it was a subway, but it was the elevated subway, so it's technically an outdoor platform. So a guy in broad daylight tried to grab a young woman. He had followed her from a store, and he tried to grab the young woman. She ran away. Hey, thanks, Teresa. Hey, Little Lone. Hey, Scott. She tried to run away from him on the platform, and he grabbed her, and she just squealed. And somebody's recording, and you can hear the guy say, "I'm taking you home, bitch," and he's dragging this girl away in broad daylight. And there were construction workers and other people, college students, and one guy's like, "Hey, let go of that. Do you know this guy?" She's like, "No, get him off me." So everyone on the platform kicks the guy's ass. Like when the cops got there, they were like, "All right, you gotta stop. We gotta arrest him." And the cops weren't stopping the civilians. Like the civilians were kicking him, they're beating his ass. So the New Yorkers have had enough, right? The New Yorkers were like, "You don't steal a girl in the freaking broad daylight, so we're just gonna kick your ass." And he went to jail, and he had a record, of course. But for every one of those instances, I'm seeing 3 or 4 with just random people getting attacked. Happened to my coworker's wife. They were up in Denver, another one of those fun cities as we were talking about before. Hey, Jason. And they had a late lunch, kind of like a 2 o'clock lunch, because meetings and whatnot. And the wife had joined him for the business meeting. They were walking down the main drag of Denver. I don't remember 6th Street or somewhere where the buses go and all those little stores. And they were with the other couple. The other couple went to the left, they went to the right. And they stopped at a traffic light before they could cross because it was cross traffic. And a guy just came up. My friend said, dressed normally, like a polo shirt, Dockers. He looked like any other dude. On his phone, just turned around and clocks his wife. No motive, no reason, didn't say anything. Knocked him down. Knocked her down. She hit the concrete, kind of the same way the other woman did. So he sees his wife goes down. He goes to help the wife. The guy, he hit her so hard, but he lost balance, so he didn't hit her square. He knocked her down, but then he fell because he kind of lost his balance. And so my friend is on top of him, right? And now they're on the street, like all rolling around. And he looked at me and said, "Pete, nobody helped me, man." He said, "I damn well know if this was in Texas, especially like you and the guys were there, you'd have had him pretzeled up. He'd have been beaten and probably duct taped to a lamppost by the time the cops got there." He said, "Nobody helped me in Denver." "Hey, Billy," he said, "my wife's on the floor. She just hit her head. She's bleeding out of the head, bleeding out of the nose." And he said, "Nobody helped." The waitress came out with a rag and ice. She didn't know, the little girl didn't know what to do. So she's trying to help this poor woman. And anyway, he's fighting, nobody helped. They had their cameras out. He said, I finally got the guy in kind of like a headlock, and I'm trying to hold him down for the cops. He's screaming, "Somebody please call the cops." And people were telling him, "Let him go, you're gonna hurt him." And I'm thinking to myself, bro, that getting hurt would be the least of his worries if he hit my wife, because I'd legit be trying to do a lot more than just give him hurt. Neil, I hope so. I hope so, because we need to apply those laws both ways, right? A hate crime's a hate crime, regardless of where it comes from. But nobody helped. And he said that blew his mind. That absolutely floored him. And she was traumatized. Like when they came back to town, she would not even go to the mall unless someone went with her. Well, Jason, and not only, you can say, okay, marijuana, whatever, but they're lacing weed with other shit up there. Like, we don't know what the hell is being put in stuff. So this guy, but the story gets better. So anyway, cops finally show up. It was a old man from Kentucky visiting a grandchild in the college, happened to be walking down. Is an old farmer. He saw him and he helped my friend get him down. They pinned him. The cops came. They arrested the guy. The case took a year for final ruling. So they kept letting him out on bail. By the time the final hearing happened, roughly a year later, he told me, we just had the final hearing. He's getting sent to force. Basically, it's like a mental institution / jail, right? You're being crazy, you're going to this jail here, and they're going to try and make you better. But you're in prison. You're not going to be in public anymore. He said it took 11 months, and he said, dude, he assaulted 4 more women. 4 more women. I said, the same MO? He said, yep. And that's what the prosecutor said. He said, had we arrested him and left him in jail after the first assault, which was my friend's wife, he said these other 4 women would not have gone to the hospital. One had a cracked skull from getting hit the way she did. He pushed one into traffic. Fortunately, one, it was a small car, like a Tesla or something, and two, the driver saw the guy being weird and kind of took her foot off the brakes. So when the woman came into the car was only going like 10 miles an hour, so it kind of rolled her down, but still, you got hit by a car, that sucks. Another one, he did the same thing. He just went over and whacked her. And then the last one, he swung and missed at the woman. The woman pepper sprayed him. And then they gave her a ticket too for having illegal pepper spray. And I'm like, they did what? That's why I don't live in Denver. But it's become normalized. We're letting them do this, and there's no consequence or fear of penalty. Therese, exactly. And I'm just, and honest to God, she was traumatized, like PTSD trauma. Like her physical injuries were gone within a month, you know. But she wouldn't go to the mall without the other wives joining her. She wouldn't go to the restaurants. She wouldn't go shopping. It negatively affected their marriage, and ultimately it ended their marriage. You know, I'm sure there were other things, but you know, when something like that happens, that will change that can change someone's channel, especially if there's someone who's never really thought about, oh, well, that happens in places like New York City. That doesn't happen to me. And again, it's like the prepping philosophy, right? How many friends do we have, all of us, who are you guys who follow me and follow all the other creators? How many of us know 10 people off the top of our head who are like, I don't know why you're prepping. The government will help us, or it's not going to happen here. You're just being paranoid. And then the grid goes down in Texas, or New Orleans gets full of water, and everyone's freaking out and calling people like us, saying, hey, Robert, hey, I need you to come pick me up in this 4 feet of flood water. No, I'm not picking you up in 4 feet of flood water. I told you to leave your house 5 days ago, and you said, no, I was being paranoid. Figure it out, sweetheart. And yes, I've gotten those calls during hurricanes. I need you to come pick me up. I can't pick you up. I don't even know if the bridge on the street that goes over the drainage bayou is still there. I can't see it. Sure, technically I can drive over it. The water's not moving fast, but I can't see where the water is. I can't see if the bridge is there. I don't want to sink my truck. I drown because of your ass. So it's frustrating, and we've normalized. So I'm seeing two things here. I'm seeing this big increase in law enforcement, which is good because we need it. But I'm also a little worried in the back of my mind that same machinery of law enforcement could be used by a future leader in a negative way. So we need to keep eyes on that. We need to, and again, how do we do that, right? I can't change DC, you can't. The local congressman, the local representative, your mayor, starting from the bottom up, the way our Constitution is designed, it has a lot of power. A sheriff is the ultimate law enforcement authority in a county. I have seen federal agents in Texas and Oklahoma and Arkansas and Ohio get arrested by local law because they didn't follow the rules. Start local. Know who your sheriff is. Know who your mayor is. We went to a charity event, my wife and I, for Big Brothers Big Sisters, right? Because as a poor kid growing up, having mentors in my life was the difference between me being in a gang and me being an engineer. And I'll be quite honest with you, I would be a very different person if it wasn't for some people who kind of were like, dude, you're gonna be dead. Like, go do something over here. And we went there, and guess who was there? The mayor did the opening comments. And there goes my little 5'1" wife in her little boots. She's like, oh, the mayor's here. I'm gonna go say hi. I really liked what she said last week. And my wife just walked across the damn, you know, we had like hors d'oeuvres, and they had wine, and people just going around doing donations and talking. She just bebops all the way across and just sits next to the mayor. Hi! And they just start talking like they've known each other forever. And I'm like, girl, you should run for office. So, but we know the mayor. We've met her. We've actually talked to her. I've met the sheriff. I met the guy who ran against the sheriff, who's a pretty damn good cop too. Get to know your local people, because when everything happens, whether it's crime in the street like I just talked about or federal overreach, the local community, the local government, the local law enforcement, the firefighters, the EMTs, they're going to be in there with you because they live with you. They live down the street, they live in town, they live outside of town, they live in your county. Yeah, there's some exceptions where you didn't wind up in a gang, although you probably would have been the leader. Either that or I might have been the lawyer. It depends, you know, somebody has to count the money, right? But, which is a terrible thing to say. Now I'm going to have the ATF is going to knock on my door like, what the fuck, dude? But point being, get to know your local people. Actually, I just emailed CERT, Civilian Emergency Response Team. That is the new version of civil defense. And it's very hit and miss depending on where you live, how well organized they are. Outside of Houston, they have two really, and he was the U.S. Army. You know what's funny, Robert? Not too story. I'll get to that in a second. Is one of the, I try, Neil, I try. Houston had a really organized one. And they went out with the Red Cross because they know the local area. They were helping direct traffic. They get training. It's free. The feds have money set aside. Trump, to my knowledge, in the big bill did not cut this particular funding. So you can go and get this training. And at the very least, even if you're not active or, you know, maybe you do it for a couple of years and you leave and then something happens after, you get to know all the local authorities, all the responders, and you understand what's happening in the response. So you're not like kind of deer in the headlights, all this shit's going on. You kind of know, okay, they're mobilizing a POD over here. They're setting up a logistics camp there. That's the talk. They're setting up the National Guard over there. And you kind of can read the room and it helps you make a good decision. So, you know, I guess the whole end of this, you know, whether you're worried about, you know, federal agencies getting too big, or you're worried about crime and politicians are applauding it instead of saying that sucks, get to know what's going on in your area. Get to know your CERT. Get to know your firefighters. Get to know all the people out there so that you will understand what's happening and who's making those decisions. And if you can help somebody you really believe in get elected so they can make the changes you believe in, do that. True story. And on the other side of Houston, there was a school district pushing sexual adult content, which normally is reserved for junior high and high school, right? Like phys ed and how you get pregnant and all that sex ed stuff for the elementary kids. And it included philosophies that certain people didn't like. So 3 of my wife's friends who were down there, they got together. They got to know the sheriff, the mayor, everyone else, and all 3 ran for the school board in the same cycle at the same time. They had one girl had gotten in the year before, and there were 5 members. So one had gotten in the year before, and the other 3 girls won that year. They basically took over the school district, and they changed the curriculum. That's how you change things. My daughter and her fiance are out in Cali. It's a new town. You know what the first thing they did? They invited all the neighbors over, including the local sheriff and his wife. They just made a bunch of new friends. Your community is not just other preppers, it's everyone because you're all in it together. And you make those relationships, and keep in mind, if you know your neighbors, even if they're not preppers or of a preparedness mindset, if you say, hey, look, I've been worried about this. I kind of prepped for this. We need to do A, B, C, and D before that gets broken or gets turned off or gets contaminated. And they know you and they know you as a friend and a neighbor. They're much more likely to listen to you than be rebellious against what you're saying. Make those relationships now. Understand how things are now. And while it's relatively calm, and they can fix your parking ticket. Yeah, this is true too. Some of them can, so it depends where they are in the hierarchy, but that's a good one too. Robert, to your earlier comment, when my oldest son graduated BCT, got out of basic, and he was going to go to his A school, and or his MOS school, and we went over there to, we actually were able to rent a cabin on the base, which was pretty cool. It was the old officer's cabin, like from the 1800s. and the base would rent them out for events, kind of like an Army Airbnb. It was really weird. I believe it was in Fort Lee. So we went there, and you know, we had the cabin, and it was Thanksgiving weekend. So we brought Thanksgiving dinner frozen because it had an oven, and we started cooking that morning after we attended the graduation ceremony. We started cooking while the soldiers did their thing. I went to get coffee at Starbucks. My brother had come, he's a Navy chief. He came to join us. We went to grab some Starbucks. We came back. His whole squad was there. At least half these kids, fatherless homes, or had been, that was fun, or had been in gangs. And, you know, we went, we cooked with them, we had dinner, and I'm like, guys, let's go watch a movie, and one of the Thor movies had come out. We took all their asses to go see Thor. And they lost their minds, right? A bunch of 18-year-olds like, ah! And I'll tell you what, one of them came to me after, I kid you not, kid from LA, and he comes and gives me a hug. He goes, Mr. Pete, you know, I wish I knew someone like you when I was young, because, you know, I got in a gang and I was getting in trouble. And he said he ran into a recruiter in the high school, and the guy looked at him and goes, Bubba, you're going to wind up dead staying here. You need to go. Here's my card. Think about it real hard. And he went. He just, something told him, I got to do this. And he said, I can't go home other than the holidays because my gang told me if they see me there, other than Christmas, New Year's, or a funeral, they're going to cut me. He said, they're not my family anymore. My unit's my family. And that broke my damn heart, y'all. So, and Amazon is here. So anyway, folks, I'll leave you with that message. Get to know your local area. Get to know your community. Get to make those relationships now, because it means you have value, and you're less likely to have to fight with people during an emergency if they know who you are and they know you mean well and you're someone they love and respect. Now's the time to make those relationships. Check your equipment. Understand what's going on. Hey, Jesus, yeah. Drives a private, and that's a whole nother video. The privatized recidivism machine. That's a lot of money there, and it's, yeah. I can't. I'll go into that in another video. But thanks for sharing that with me. Now you just got me on another rabbit trail. Anyway, folks, look. You guys be good. Jesus is right, by the way. You guys be good. Be safe out there. Be careful. Know your community. Talk to people. Learn another language. No Vision tonight. Oh no, might do a late night. Yeah, Vision has some work stuff going on, or house stuff. I don't remember what he's doing. You folks be good. Be safe.